Hello, in this episode, I'm going to take you guys on a journey of from harvesting to eating those zesty dill pickles of that recipe that I concocted. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen, in the garden. I'm going to be harvesting cucumbers to make my recipe for zesty dill pickles. My family really loves my zesty dill pickles, and I'm going to share with you guys my recipe that my family loves so much. Yeah, and we're emphasizing the zesty part. And today's episode is actually going to be a 3-day journey. Day 1 is harvest and then soaking them into the brine. And day 2 is making the contents for the jars to give the dill pickles that zesty taste and canning them. And then day 4 will be actually, after we refrigerate them, eating some. Yes, so let's go. As far as my cucumbers go, I grow market more cucumbers on this side, and I grow the American pickling cucumbers on this side. I do have a couple. We're gonna pick enough to where we can put them in the brine and can them. So let's get them picked. Okay, there's a good sized one right here. Look at that. Okay, perfect for pickles. And there's another one down here. Again, perfect for pickles. This is what I love about this variety. It always gives me plenty of sizes to create pickles. We're gonna let these grow up for the next, we got a bunch on here, so we'll be pickling some more in the future. Plenty of blossoms on this one, but still no sign of any cucumbers. I like to train my my vines up the trellis. So I water these by soaking. I mean, absolutely saturating the soils about once every 3 days. And then the other 2 days I just do a rainbird sprinkler. So they seem to be doing epic here on my homestead. So let's take these in, and I'll show you the next step in and a secret I found out on getting crunchy pickles. It's a secret and it's really easy. Let's go in. Okay, first I gotta wash the cucumbers and make sure they're scrubbed clean. One of the future projects I do want to work on is new countertops, new faces on these kitchen cabinets, and just try to upgrade on a very tight budget for my wife to give her a really nice kitchen. Okay, next step. This next step is relatively simple, and this is my secret for retaining the crispiness, even after canning, of the cucumber. Yes, the secret is, and there's no additives, it's actually you're taking something away from the cucumber. See this little point right here? This is the stem where we just harvested from. We harvested it. Just take a paring knife and cut this little nub off the end. That is the bloom end. In this end right here is all the little enzymes that cause the ripening of the fruit. And that ripening is what causes the fruit, of course, to ripen and become soft and soggy. So get rid of the bloom. That goes to, the same goes for most all vegetables. Get rid of the bloom if you're canning them, and then that bloom can either be, that will cause me to ripen. We'll do the same with the rest of these. Just cut the bloom off. Nothing tastes better than farm fresh vegetables. So place them back in your bowl. Make sure the bowl is non-reactive to vinegar or to salt, because we're going to soak these in a salt brine here in a minute. Get a big pot. Now, in previous days, I harvested some pickles that were ripe and ready to harvest, but I did not want them to get too big, so I just soaked them in a jar in water and stored them in the refrigerator until now. Prior to soaking them in the jar, I did cut the bloom off. So we're going to go ahead and set these also in the water bath. So this container will hold the brine for the pickles. To the pot, I'm going to add a gallon of water. Turn the heat on. And the reason why I'm doing a gallon of water, not only for that, but also for these. These are the Market More cucumbers I harvested, and I'm going to try making pickles out of these. Now, I let this one grow big. This is just one pickle. I let it grow big, and I cut it in slices, and I harvested the seeds out of it. And those seeds I showed in a previous episode drying on a paper towel on the worm bin inside of the greenhouse to save them for growing next year. So I'm going to go ahead and release these from the water, and we're also going to soak these in a salt brine overnight. Now, the only other ingredient for this phase of the pickling process is I'm using salt for pickling and preserving. For a gallon of water, I'm going to use 2/3 cup of pickling salt. Give it a stir so that all the salt is completely emulsified with the water solution, because you want as briny as you can. You want to bring the water and the salt to a boil, and then fill both containers with the liquid, but make sure the liquid goes over the top of your contents. You want your contents totally submerged. Now, to ensure that they stay submerged, place a plate over the top of them. Over that. And then I'm going to put some weight on it to make sure it's totally submerged. Yeah, we're going to use this tomorrow. Only until it cools enough to room temperature, and then I'm going to refrigerate it overnight. And then we'll be back. Once we get it in the refrigerator, we'll pull it out of the refrigerator tomorrow, and then we'll start the next phase of pickling cucumbers. We'll be right back in a video second. Okay, this is day 2 of making some zesty and spicy dill pickles, my own recipe that I created. Back out here in the garden, we're going to harvest some fresh dill. I just love the smell of this herb. It's just something about it. Just love it. Anyway, let's go over to the grapes. I want to share something with you guys about those. And yes, it does have to do with making pickles. Now, I showed you yesterday harvesting the cucumber and then cutting the bloom end of it off. That's what I discovered, how to maintain that crunchiness of the dill pickle when you can it. Some people also take grape leaves and add them to the solution for pickling because they say the grape leaf will also help the pickle maintain its crispiness. My mouth is watering already for crunching into those dill pickles, so let's get started. I've got my canner up here, and I've got the jars sterilizing in the can right now. And in this bowl right here, I'm going to start mixing my fluid for the pickles. But first, I need to get the pickles out of the refrigerator and then drain the brine off. Okay, to my pot, I'm going to add 6 cups of water. Turn the heat on high. And to that I'm going to add 1 cup of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 6 tablespoons of pickling salt. Stir it up to emulsify all of your dry ingredients. Make sure it's all diffused throughout the water and the vinegar. And let set and bring it to a boil. While that's coming to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and remove my sterilized jars and get them ready to start filling with the ingredients. I put them on a napkin on this cutting board because you don't want to stick hot jars on a cold surface. That will crack your jar. Now I prepared 6 jars. I may not use all 6 jars. When I put this water in here to set the mason jars in, I added just a little bit of vinegar to it, so because we're on a well and we have hard water, and the residue will stick to the glass, and a Homestead hack to keep that residue from coating on your glass is just put a little bit of vinegar in the water, and that keeps that from happening. So I'm going to cover this back up. Keep that heated, because the wonderful thing about making pickles is water bath canning for 20 minutes, and that's all you need. So let's get the ingredients in, and I'll show you my secret recipes for making zesty, spicy dill pickles. Yum. Yeah, my mouth is watering already. To each jar, I'm adding a sprig. Now in the past I've had success without having dill weed available. You get the dill weed and put a 1/4 teaspoon of dill weed in each jar, followed by a 1/4 teaspoon of dill seed. I wonder if one can actually plant this dill seed and grow dill next year in the garden. I might do that as a experiment. So I just add 1/4 teaspoon of dill seed, 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed, 1 teaspoon of whole black peppercorns. We're not done yet. We got peeled, fresh garlic cloves. We're going to do 2 per jar. Well, the smaller ones, I'll put 3. And now for the spicy crushed red peppers, flakes. Yeah, 1 teaspoon each. This pepper will infuse with a hot liquid and give it that extra bite. Oh, yum. And now it's time to pack the jars with these brine-soaked pickles. Just pickling salt and water, hot water, soaked in the refrigerator overnight. And I put a plate on them to weigh them down, remember that. So we're just going to pack these in there. Make sure I have head space. I might just trim these up. I'll make whole pickles here, and then the rest of them I'll do spears, because I can pack them tighter if I just quarter them. Now this is a different type of cucumber right here. This is a market more, and these are American pickling cucumbers. And then this was a market more that I let go big, so these are not going to fit in those jars. So I'll just go ahead and quarter it and then pack it in half. They'll be dill pickles just the same. Okay, I think I have enough for one more jar. Let's just stick that little one down in there and do a combination of spears and whole pickles for this last jar. Will it fit? Yes, that'll fit. And that'll fit. Okay. So yeah, these two jars, will just put lids on them and set them aside. And we've got this ready to go, but I'll keep it in the refrigerator because it's got those garlic cloves in them. Now let's pour the fluid on. We got the water boiling. I got my funnel on, and now we just fill it up. And you leave a 1/4 inch head space. I just go up to the neck of the bottle. This part right here. I may not have any fluid left. Look how all those peppers are floating around in there and getting in that hot water. Yum. Now these two jars shouldn't take as much water because I packed them full. Alright, I may not have any solution left. We're getting down to the bottom. Okay, so we'll just pour it in. Please be enough, please be enough. Please, 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 please. Remove that. Take my canning spatula and release any air bubbles that might be down in there. Yeah, these look like pickles. Ugh. This one's going to be interesting. The market more, giant market more. Take a cloth or paper towel and wipe around the edges to make sure there's no debris on there because you want your lids to have a good tight seal. And the ones that don't seal, just put them in the refrigerator and you can eat them later within the month or so. Okay, got my canning lids. Now you can do these in wide mouth jars, but unfortunately I'm out of wide mouth jars and I have these jars available, so I'm just going to do it in these. Put the rings on just to pass the first resistance. You don't want them so tight that the gas or the air inside can't escape because you're going to create a vacuum in there. It's going to push air out as it heats up, and then as it cools it'll condense and the lids will pop down and create that vacuum. So just put your rings on just past the first resistance. Now the water bath canner is ready to go. We have it boiling water, and now I'm going to set these in the water bath. Now these are going to displace water. I'll have to take water out of here as I add more volume inside of there. But you want, for water bath canning, you want at least 1 to 2 inches of water over the top of the lids to start get that process going. Last jar. We got a good 2 inches of water space over the top of the lids. Place this on here. Boil it for 20 minutes. I'll be right back in a video second. It's 20 minutes to me, but a video second to you. Okay, it's been 20 minutes, so we can now take the pickle jars out and set them on the cooling rack. Oh, that's tragic. One of the jars broke. Well, at least we got this. That's a waste. The bottom of a jar broke out. Yeah, we're gonna have to toss that jar. That does happen in canning from time to time, so you do want to make sure you put a rack in the bottom of the pail and make sure your jars don't have any cracks. But sometimes, regardless of how many precautions you take in canning, you're gonna get a fail once in a while, but it's just one, and we still have more cucumbers ripening on the vine, so I have more pickles to come in my future. But at least I have 3 jars out of this batch. I'm okay with that. We'll let them cool, let the lids pop, and then we'll store them in a cool, dry, dark place, like in a larder or a pantry. You don't want your pantry lighted. Seriously, folks, the light will destroy the quality of the food. I do have 3 jars of pickles left over from last year, and this is one of them. This is how they're going to look once they're all cool and ready to go. And we're going to go ahead and dine on these pickles for the next month. Love these Zesty-Spicy dill pickles, my own recipe. Yeah, I'm eating this pickle from last year. Is still firm because I cut the bloom end off of it and didn't have to add anything else. And oh yeah, the zest and the spice, perfect. Good for the gut too. Sometimes I wake up with, oh man, acid reflux, indigestion, heartburn, whatever you want to call it. To get rid of it, instantly, I run to the refrigerator, grab me a dill pickle, eat it, it's gone instantly. It works, natural. Well, I'm your host, Jerry Hansen, in the Dude in the Kitchen series, sharing with you guys my recipe on Zesty-Spicy dill pickles from harvest to pantry. Yes, or even to table. Stay tuned to more videos. You could do that by subscribing and clicking that bell icon. That'll let you to new videos. As I upload them, give us a thumbs up. Click that share button. Sharing my videos on your social media platforms helps us out a lot. Be safe. Always be kind. Enjoy the recipe. Good luck with that. Stay tuned for more adventures. Bye-bye now.